Hi, Kamala. Welcome to Software People Stories. So happy to have you here.
Thank you, Gayatri. Thanks for having me.
So, Kamala, like in all our conversations, I would like you to introduce for our listeners. I know you for now 6 years, but I would like your in your own inimitable style, introduce yourself to our listeners.
Sure, happy to. My name is Kamala Srinivasan. For the past 25 plus years, I have worked in the field of technology and nonprofit, many times combining the two. I'm currently the founder and CEO of Upahara, which brings me great happiness as I can connect people, process, and technology to address social challenges. For me, it's paying gratitude forward. That's what it's all about. My goal and Upahara's goal is to build a bridge between donors and charitable organizations and make a meaningful impact on the causes that matter most to donors' hearts. It's a solution that uses a robust philanthropic tech-based platform.
Thank you so much, Kamala. And can you share your career journey and how it's all started for our listeners?
Yes, I know. I'm one of those people, who have done BS in mathematics, MS in computers, the STEM all packaged together. That's kind of the person I was. I started my career in California, USA, and worked here for about 10 years. And then we have decided to move back to India and continued my career in India as well in the technology industries, I'm doing some amazing things. And during my tenure, we have decided to, I have decided to support women in tech communities in India. So that's why I came to meet you and some of the amazing women, right? So that opened up a doorway for me to be associated in the nonprofit field. And again, we moved back to US. Right now, I'm doing my startup journey. So that's kind of a very small introduction about my career journey.
When you think about your earliest memory, right, of software and technology, what strikes you the most, Kamala? I mean, after having the journey, sometimes it's great to look back at what really excited us. And sometimes more often than not, it continues to excite us today, right?
Yes, yeah. See, my memory it's a very amazing journey. See, I grew up with two older siblings who were already working when I was in high school. So my brother was working at a computer science department of a college at that time. So our home was filled with these computer enthusiasts and professors from college discussing the then current tech trends, right? So I was literally hearing all those things. My brother would often bring home the printouts from the dot matrix printer, the paper with a dot on both sides, right? I used to visit the computer room at the college, and there were those huge, bulky desktop computers there. So I remember the clean room with the AC blasting, and then sound of the dot matrix printer pervading the space, right? So those were like very amazing experience for me. So this experience created an everlasting impact on myself. And later on, when I moved on into this technology career, that stayed with me, right? How technology can make a difference, how we can create solutions, right? That stayed with me forever.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
Growing up with siblings who are really achievers must have put a lot of
Yes.
pressure on you, Kamala.
Yeah, it was more than a pressure. It was an influencers they were. So, and then it's just not them, right? I also get to meet the other people in the field, even at a younger age. So not many people had that opportunity. So I'm very grateful for those opportunities.
Wonderful. I also like the fact that you take it as a in your stride, and every conversation that I've had with you also reflects that confidence and just
Mhm.
the sheer, you know, goodness in your heart. Kamala, so when you speak about your career, right, what are the kind of inflection points can you imagine that you are seeing? I mean, it's always nice
Yes.
to see from from now, right? Because
Yes.
listeners like to hear this because some of the decisions that you might have taken would have impacted. So that sort of helps them to make those as well.
Exactly. So even when I think back, right, those are all really amazing decisions that we made because you always have that fear, right, when you take certain decisions. So the first one was we were in India, US, right, at that time. So the very first was our decision to move back to India. So it was 2006, and India was growing in tech industries. And my fintech experience had opened up the door to fantastic opportunities. I was helping organizations build tech development centers across the globe in India, China, and Israel by sitting in Bangalore office, right? So you can do all those, but seeing the whole world from Bangalore. So I had an opportunity to interact with different cultures and great leaders. So that was my first one. The second one was when I decided to focus my time on supporting women in tech communities in India. It was not a high paying tech role, it's a non-profit, right? In this non-profit world, I guided and supported women, created communities across India. The inner happiness that I felt during the journey was immeasurable. And then the third inflection point is what I'm doing now, my current startup journey. So it is not easy, it has its own set of challenges. I am excited, confident, and also it's filled with uncertainties. So I will not know what kind of uncertainty is going to pop up tomorrow or 1 hour from now, right? Maybe we can have a separate podcast on this in my startup journey in the near future. So these are all the inflection point that I can put it in a three different buckets that really, really impacted my career journey and growth and overall, how I see. And it allowed me to see the technology industries and nonprofit industries and allowed me to do my current nonprofit, which is connecting both, right? With my technology experience, I'm solving some social challenges.
That's wonderful, Kamala. So tell me more about the first inflection point when you were setting up the fintech world. And remember, the processes were not very mature and attrition was very high. This is before the 2008 you're talking about, right? In terms of the
Sure.
growth engine itself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
how was that kind of establishing compared to what you are doing today, establishing a non-profit? Can you compare and contrast the experiences? Any stories there?
Yeah, I see. India was really growing at that time. And then we had, although the software consulting firms had established already, right? There were TCS and Infosys and Wipro of the world are thriving at that time. Whereas these bigger corporates, right, multinational corporates, they were trying to set up centers in India. So the experiences of going to campuses and then hiring the young people to bring into office, and then setting up a lot of programs for them so that they get excited and then being there in the offices. But throughout that thing, that's another reason for me to move into the women in tech. I don't see, I didn't see women of my age in the offices at all. So you would see some younger women joining workforce, but they would leave afterwards. They will not stay back, right? So after the maternity, they don't come back. So I had seen those challenges, that's when I started creating a lot of this women leadership forums, women related sessions within the organization. And then I had realized that required more attention throughout India. Then I joined the nonprofit to solve the problem. So, but to answer your question, it was thriving. India was thriving. And then you get to see all these intellectual young ones coming in. I also introduce a reverse mentoring. So I would sit with some of the younger colleagues and learn more from them, and they would teach a lot of us on the company policies to what we can do, what we cannot do, right? So I would say those 14 years that I was in India, it was an amazing journey.
Wonderful, wonderful. In fact, reverse mentoring is used as a tool now to teach the corporate executives from the millennials on what it means
Yes.
to actually manage them. So we use that as a tool to say, hey, can you mentor me as to how to even speak to you in a way that will be non-confrontational as well as motivational, right? Sometimes you just
Yes.
know what to say to make it
Yeah.
clear. money is no longer the motivation. It's no longer that, good work is no longer the motivation. Like, good work, yeah, sure, I can do it. So what next? So that's
Yes.
become the theme of today's era, right?
Yes, believe me, I would be so excited to attend those reverse mentoring session, and then each session after that, I get more energized. It's because they are all full of energy, full of ideas. So I totally enjoy those sessions as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and we often kid that I'm increasing the overall age in the room, and then they actually used to all laugh at our jokes, and
True.
it also helps in terms of understanding their mental pulse and everything. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, Kamala, talking about your second journey on moving into a non-profit, right? While it's a great move. I have been one of the people beneficiaries in terms of being part of the community building effort and getting a podium to talk about our problems as well as bigger one. So, what propelled you in terms of letting go of your corporate job and doing it? It may look as if, self-actualization and all of that in a bigger scheme of things, but at that point in time, how did it feel?
Yes. While I was so passionate that I wanted to do, but I had to sit down with my husband to do a calculation, right? Because there is a budgeting, there are expense. I had elderly parents, so I have to look at all aspects of it and see how long I can manage, right? Is it like a two year? Because the education in India is not cheap, right? I had two high school going children also at that time. So I had decided that I put objective to myself to see how we can help, because I can notice that I came from a background from a rural India, right? I came from Madurai. That's where I came from, and then I was able to see the world, working with the world countries, other countries, right, worldwide, and make an impact. How could I give it back to rest of the women? What is stopping them? Because the talent, the study, education, they have everything, but there are certain things is preventing them not to go further on it. So I was really passionate about solving that challenge and making a platform for the women to come together, see the role model. Not only that, right? It had a multi-dimensional. We also had to educate the corporates on the hiring policies and things that they were doing. So to answer your question, I really wanted to make an impact. So, I took that break. I wouldn't even say a break, right? It's a continuous journey. Maybe break from the corporate world and then continued there. And I also put an objective, maybe I'll try to be here, try to make as much impact as possible, 3 or 4 years, having some kind of a timeline, so that would allow my family to manage, right, to do the rest of the expenses. So 3 years was a great journey while I was doing it. And it helped me, and I also put all my corporate processes and operation into place, and then used all my networking abilities, and all women came forward, right? It is not just myself. So all the communities out there, they all came forward and helping each other, still continue to help each other. So like we are pretty much leaving a legacy behind.
Wonderful. I like that fact of any decision that you take, creating the time box and think about it from an end to end in mind. I like that. I think that's a very good tool. I hope listeners are really making notes as to how to do that, because taking a gutsy decision is one thing, but knowing when to come back if need to be, I think very, very cool, Kamala.
Exactly, because you cannot put also your family at a difficult situation, challenging situation, right? So, and you have like you need to look at yourself, your children, and then your family, ongoing EMI, and then each and every one of us, right? Parents, in-laws, they all have some kind of a dependency on that. That was the main reason we moved back to India, to be with the parents and in-laws, right? So, with all those calculation, I have taken the decision. Yeah, I hope it helps the listeners as well.
Yes, yes, it does. So if kind of switching gears, right? If you sort of wanted to give advice to a 20-year-old Kamala, what would those be? I mean,
Oh, wow. Great question, right? I wish we can go back. But, I would say I should have spent more time taking care of myself. I did not do much self-care during my 20s. So that's a one thing that I would say.
Nice. I actually have heard very different advices from different people. They say, okay, I want to spend more, I want to earn more money. Or I would have said, don't worry, self-care is definitely on the top of people's advices, Kamala. Um, in the same thing, right? When we look in front, 15 years from now or 20 years from now, if you had a time turner, what are the few things that you would like to see, not just for
Mhm.
yourself, but overall as a society as overall? What are the few things that
Yes.
you'd be excited to see?
So I want to see the human race respect each other, to see an inclusive world, being not just respectful to each other, but also to the environment, right? And I also would like to see more entrepreneurs, see them solving or having solved some of the world's most pressing social challenges. The last but not, right? While I know the entrepreneurship and tech innovations are going to reach great heights, I would also like all of them to be ethically viable ones. These
Wow.
are all my wishes 15 years
Very,
from now.
very, very strong ones, Kamala. Can you elaborate more on the ethically viable one? What do we mean by that? I heard about sustainability. We speak about ESG goals, environmentally sustainable goals, and things like that. And we of course know the SDG goals, sustainable development goals. What do we mean by viable? What do you, in your words, what do you mean by that?
In the current the technology innovation as we go further, are we being ethically and then consciously building a inclusive technology development for the future that involves everybody around us? Right. So if you're doing the self-driving car, well, that self-driving car can help all the people on the street who are going to be there. Right. And then if you're going to the AI is going to create a great heights, right, at some for the artificial intelligence. However, the ethically doing that also really important, right? So it has to be a conscious decision on the developers and entrepreneurs to build a right thing, so that's going to be help all the humanity and then everybody else. That's what I meant with ethically viable one in a nutshell, but it means a lot.
Yeah, I think I'm sure we can talk about hours what that means, right? Wonderful. I really like that kind of concept of respecting as well as creating that environment of ethically viable, Kamala. So,
Mhm.
how do you arm yourself in terms of books? Or I mean, do you read books, or are there any recommendations that you have with you, Kamala, in terms of book recommendation, or are you more of a podcast listener, or how do you arm yourself?
Yes, I do read a lot of books. So to arm myself with respect to technology or any area, right? So attending webinars, conferences, and listening to great podcasts. Yes, of course, all of them on my list. Blog postings, and then also, right? It's naturally keep up with the social media post of deliberate celebrities you like, right? It is similar to that, right? That's how it is. Once you get interested in any field like that, keeping up the news and changes is very easier with the current practices, right? And coming up to books, I do read a lot of books. However, there are two books that are truly important to me. That would be definitely the Bhagavad Gita, right? I would highly recommend, and there are lots of language options available for everyone, from Sanskrit, Hindi, English, even audio versions available for anyone who can listen to or read. And then the second book, because there are two books that are next to my bedside table all the time, or in my office room table all the time, two books. The second one is the Power of Now book series by Eckhart Tolle. I even have some inspirational quotes from Tolle and verses from Gita upon my wall. So,
Wow. So that I mean, and when do you read him? I mean, I'm sure you would have read him multiple times, right? Any nuggets when you had a problem, you read it, any incident that you can narrate?
The reading new books, I also read a lot of new books. So I allocate some time in a week to read new books. But going back to this Power of Now or yeah, Bhagavad Gita, they're more inspiration. It's not just a problem, right? Even in a quiet evening, I just take down one chapter and then read. Or there are some podcasts available. Somebody's discussing about Gita. I would listen to that. So you get more grounded. So by referring them both. And then if I'm going to give any keynote or if I'm delivering some speech, definitely I would refer to those two books as also, to get some notes from there to say it in the podium when I'm talking.
Lovely, lovely. When you speak about, keynote and keeping yourself abreast, I know you have given a lot of speeches across the board. How do you keep in touch with changes in technology, right? One of the things that often is being told is that women in tech, the reason why we have a bit of attrition from the whole system in itself, right, is because the changes are so rapid that even if you are taking a sabbatical for a year from it, you will not even be able to recognize. It's not like a where you have a bank job, you go to the same bank, it's the same processes, right? Or you are driving an automobile, it's the same automobile. So, but the technology core changes to processes are rapidly changing. How do you keep coping up?
Yes. So also, right, it's impossible for all of us to learn everything. And there are certain core competencies that's going to help you and in your career journey as well. So focusing on those areas are really important, and then connecting with a similar set of mindset, similar people who are working in the same area, and then connecting with them, attending the conferences, or reading some of those experts who are producing some of the blogging that they do and webinars that they conduct, right? And then also learn more on that front continuously, and then creating a focus group on it. So you can create your own community or create something in your organization. And also, right, I would go say in the reverse mentoring, there's you go up a level, there are people who can help, there are people in your team. So working on that, right, so that would really help you to see where the technology is going and how you yourself as a person going to help on that front, right? So the fundamental is same, right? It's like riding a bicycle. Once you know the bicycle, you can always ride. So as a STEM, as a science person, as a technology person, fundamentally you know the basics. It's just the way the technology is growing, and also instead of taking pie from each and everything, focusing on the thing that's going to help you yourself and then your career development, right? Those are all the important areas. Choose on them and then focus on that and continue with that. And there are umpteen ways that you can do. I know you have developed a lot of community engagements, conducted a lot of sessions. But when you're attending that session, you know that the two speakers and then people who attended, you know that those are all the people. You can connect back with them. Believe me, some of this conversation can lead into a startup idea, and soon somebody else can become a founder and entrepreneur as well, right? You'll never know. The ideas can born anytime. So that's what I did. Even some of my startup idea was born from that space only.
Wow, lovely, Kamala, in terms of creating that sort of a group and helping them inspire you to stay that route. And of course,
Yes.
learning by doing is the best way for it to register in our mind, right? Otherwise it
Yes.
just you can just go to any number of trainings. It just doesn't stick. And when you talk about going to conferences, having communities to network, and you obviously have a family who needs you and the work, right? I mean, we have so many realms of our own life. Everybody does. It's not just specific to women, but that's often spoken about in terms of a work-life balance and ensuring that how do you even I don't even know whether there's a balance to strike. But what is your opinion? It's very controversial, I know, but I hope you don't mind telling your view of it.
Yeah, that's the biggest question of them all, right? Work life. let's just focus on life decisions, right? The life part of it. So in life, we make conscious decision to do certain things. Marrying someone, having babies or not having babies, working or not working. There's always so much going on in life. But compartmentalizing and focusing on the current moment, whatever I'm doing, whether I'm at work or attending my kids' graduation ceremony, focusing on now, being here and now helped me a lot. So instead of, while I'm attending my graduation ceremony, if I'm going to worry about the email that I'm going to respond, I'm not enjoying any of those, right? So everything happens in the current moment. So focusing on the current was really important to me. That helped me a lot. Next, identifying that which brings inner peace, whether it's a particular sport, running a marathon, or arts and crafts, right? And make sure that you are spend time doing that. That's really important. What is that hobby, right? Identifying that it cannot be only, it doesn't have to be one single one, it can be multiple things. In my case, it's painting, drawing, gardening, and being outdoors. So I like trekking or exploring the state and regional parks near my area. I also love reading books, right? All of this brings more harmony into life, right? When you talk about work life, this is how we have to balance it by tying different areas. And there is one more important thing, right? In the current busy paced world, there's a myth that you must be busy doing something all the time, right? That's a myth. Try not to do anything. Being still, try not to do anything, right? Being still allows you to be more grounded and relaxed. For that, I do regular meditation. So in the end, it's finding what works for you and maintaining that habit. I found help in finding this harmony again by reading Bhagavad Gita, right? Bhagavad Gita also tells all those things I just told, right? So I hope, work-life balance is a very big topic, but these are all the smaller steps one can take to manage this in their life.
Lovely, lovely, Kamala. In fact, you're tying the power of now to stay grounded and ensuring that you enjoy what you're doing the most and then keep compartmentalizing. The great advices there, Kamala. I can really imagine you actually in the graduation party staying with the graduation. I think I love it. And see, it's also pertinent when you work with a woman, so many women you're working. I mean, keeping this network, and you yourself mentioned about your journey. Some of the startup ideas came from others. Any tips that you can share for women in networking? I know you are you have a mega network, and I hope you can share some wisdom there.
Sure, sure. See, it just depends on what you want and how you approach it, right? So it's not that you can't just go and book all your evenings and weekends and attending some networking sessions, right? It all depends on how you want to approach it. So try making genuine connections while searching out job opportunities or while gathering information. Networking is good to focus on, but also, right, instead of looking at what is in it for me, you also need to see how you can share the knowledge and give it back to others, right? It makes it much easier. And also, some folks are introvert, that they don't want to go out and make that conversation. So tag along a friend or a colleague, right? So, that would really makes wonders in reducing anxiety or boosting confidence when you go along with somebody else that right? The tips that I use that I can give, I can suggest would be, like, just prepare yourself before going to any networking session, right? Ask yourself these questions. What kind of event is it? Who are the speakers? What are their backgrounds, right? Understanding this will really help. And then if you attend any speaker sessions, ask relevant questions during Q&A. Introduce yourself and ask the relevant question, right? Also, while I recommend to ask questions, remember to be a keen observer, right? That's also really important, keen listener. And then also prepare yourself for an elevator pitch kind of a thought about yourself. So, use it to introduce yourself to others. Think of it kind of like an agenda or a goal to reach when you meet with people. So this preparation always helps, right? This will help you prepare to what to talk to others, right? So this preparation would help. And then for contact information, I know that other people use business cards or whatever works best for you, right? I use QR code, so that's what I use. I don't carry the physical card, paper card. I use a QR code. So it's good to exchange cards, or take as many cards with you when you go and meet, so that you can exchange cards with people. So, and the other thing would be to connect. If you like somebody, you met somebody, and after the event is over, right, send a follow-up note via email or a LinkedIn. Following up with them also truly important. So I know these are all very smaller tips, but there are a lot. Each and everyone can fine tune that based on what is the requirement for themselves, right? So that's all I can give for now.
Thank you. I think these are wonderful, Kamala. Very, very practical to
Yes,
share, to be prepared and understand what you want to get out of it. That way,
that's
you
right.
also know what you want. I know we have had a great conversation. Last question that I want to share, I want to ask is: you worked in India and US for decades together. Being a global citizen, can you share some of the cultural nuances? What listeners can look out for when they work across cultures and regions?
Yeah. So that's a huge bucket, right? So I'm so excited to work. I had an opportunity to work with a lot of different culture, right? So the funny story is, I came to USA when I was 23 years old. The difference in this part of the world is multidimensional, right? So I got a job at Pacific Bell. That's a telephone company, the technology work as a software developer. The name is Pacific Bell. And then I noticed that, when you go out, there is this Mexican restaurant, food chain that's called a Taco Bell everywhere. So I used to joke, why this company, this country has bells everywhere, right? Pacific Bell, Taco Bell. And then, the I wasn't used to the Western names, especially this unisex names, right? I used to worry over which gender to name Robin represented, the name Robin. So, who's that, right? Because I was not familiar with those things, right? So I like to think I might have improved in those specific regard, but culture shock really got me, a 23-year-old coming from southern state of India to land on the United States, right? It took some time. However, meanwhile, working globally with a multiple culture was a great experience. You get to know your coworkers and their culture better while maintaining a professional relationship, right? You get to know some holiday coming up, and they would talk about how they celebrate that holiday. So these are all very wonderful experience that you experience, right? It's not that you are reading it in your history book. So that was a great one. And then, see, I remember, right? I used to run this risk management sessions for the organization's tech centers across the globe. And then the team that manages the location's facility would be involved in those sessions, because the facility is also an important factor when you run a risk management sessions, right? So they were more comfortable talking in their local languages while discussing things, and then sending one person forward to address me in English. I made a conscious decision not to interfere with that. They became more comfortable with my team. I could see how the small gesture was appreciated, right? Kindness goes a long way in learning more about others and their culture, right? If I interrupted saying that, you have to only speak in English, right? They might not be very comfortable in that, but they had a huge respect after that, right? So it was very uncomfortable for everyone to speak in English in that room. So it's a small thing, working with them, understanding, respecting each other. So I can go a lot of interesting stories, but we have a short time.
Wow, awesome, Kamala. I think it's wonderful to get a glimpse of your journey through all these stories. I really want to thank you for your time. Any last advices that you want to share with our listeners? I know you've told quite a bit. Any thoughts that you want to share?
Yes. I talked about the self-care, right? So I would like each and every individual who are listening to see what kind of a self-care routine that they have. And then how are they going to taking care of themselves? Like they go get their salary check or the money management, they invest. How are they investing on themselves, right? The first thing anybody can do is investing on themselves, right? So the things that they can do, that's number one. And then, the other thing is, all of us know that, our fingerprint, we have our own DNA. So, which is very clear that we are ourselves, right? Just be yourself. Wherever you are, be your authentic yourself. Because I am Kamala, you are Gayatri. Everybody else is taken, right? You can just be yourself only. So, these are the two things that I can leave it along.
Thank you so much and have a wonderful day, Kamala. Thank you.
Thank you.